Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Dr. Derek Da Silva. I'm the Medical Director of Common Sense Supplements. How important is vitamin D? Well, vitamin D is one of my top 3 recommendations for better health. Vitamin D is so critical. About 85% of the US population is deficient in vitamin D. What do we mean by deficient? Well, there's various definitions, if you will, but what I use as a definition, we've got a reference range between 30 and 100. What we want to do is deficiency is anybody less than 30 to 35. Well, that's about 85% of the US population. Doesn't matter whether you live in Florida or whether you live in Puerto Rico. It doesn't matter where you live. The deficiency is still there. So what about this combination of vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin K2? Why can't you just go out and buy vitamin D? The reason for that is that vitamin K2 is a critical nutrient to make vitamin D work the way it really should. What vitamin K2 does is that it activates certain proteins to rebuild your bone, which is osteocalcin, and also to keep calcium and other nutrients out of the inside of blood vessels by activating something called matrix GLA protein. That protein is extremely important when it comes to the health of blood vessels. And this is where vitamin K2 comes in with regard to the blood vessels themselves. Vitamin A is a nutrient that has been used. Do you remember the old A and D ointment? Why did they put them together? Because there's a synergistic effect between the two. By the way, here's another thing that you really need to remember, is that every single nutrient has a triad. Every nutrient has another 2 or 3 nutrients in order to make that nutrient work effectively. For example, calcium. What does calcium need? Vitamin D and magnesium. It's the same thing here when it comes to this combination. A combination of vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin K2. Now, the other important piece is that these nutrients need to be in balance. You can't just go buy vitamin K2 or vitamin D. What is the right balance? What is the right proportion? That's what this is about. I've done my homework and I've formulated this product based on the science and what you need. Now, there's 2 versions of this. There's ADK 5 and there's ADK 10. Most of the population, as I said, is deficient in vitamin D. Giving them the ADK 10 is the way to start. Use that ADK 10, which is 10,000 IU of the vitamin D, for 3 months. Retest the level. Once that level gets into the 60-70 range, which is the optimal range, remember we want optimal, not normal. Once it gets into that optimal range, you can drop them down to the ADK 5. So this is the way I use this in my practice. Initially, I start them on the ADK 10. Once I get the optimal levels, I switch them down to the ADK 5. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Dr. Derek Da Silva, and may you always be blessed with good health.